In the middle of Africa's dry season, a female kudu slowly walked across the sun-scorched grassland. Staying close beside her was a young calf, only a few months old. From a distance, the mother still appeared strong. Her long legs carried her easily through the thorny bushes, while her large ears constantly turned in different directions, listening for danger. But beneath her gray-brown coat, her body was under attack. Hundreds of blood-feeding ticks clung tightly around her ears, neck, shoulders, belly, and the inner sides of her hind legs. Many had fed until their bodies swelled like tiny beans. Some bite sites had become red and inflamed, while small wounds had begun to form behind her ears. The antelope repeatedly shook her head. She scratched her neck with one hind leg, then rubbed the side of her body against the rough trunk of an acacia tree. A few ticks fell to the ground, but most remained hidden in places her hooves, teeth, and horns could not reach. For several days, the constant irritation had prevented the mother from resting properly. She ate less. She often stopped while traveling with the herd to bite at the fur around her belly. The continuous blood loss was beginning to weaken her, yet her young calf still depended completely on her protection. Near midday, the mother and calf stopped beneath the shade of a large acacia tree. The mother tried to lie down, but only seconds later, she rose again as the ticks continued biting into the sensitive skin behind her ears. At that moment, a red-billed oxpecker flew overhead. From the air, the bird noticed dozens of dark spots clustered around the antelope's neck. It lowered its wings and landed on her back. The kudu immediately tensed. She turned her head, tightened her muscles, and prepared to run. But the bird did not attack. It simply hopped along her spine, carefully examining her skin. When it reached her shoulder, the oxpecker gripped a swollen tick with its sharp bill. It pulled hard. The parasite came free and was quickly swallowed. The antelope shivered but did not run. The bird moved farther up her neck, found another tick hidden beneath the fur, and pulled it away. Its short calls echoed across the grassland. Within minutes, more oxpeckers arrived from the nearby trees. They landed on the antelope's back, neck, shoulders, and flanks. The flock began to feed. Several birds gathered around her ears, where dozens of ticks were hidden inside the thin folds of skin. Others searched her belly and the inner sides of her legs. One by one, the parasites were pulled free. Some were attached so firmly that the birds had to tug several times before removing them. Each tick left behind a tiny red mark. At first, the mother remained tense. She repeatedly flicked her ears and stamped her hooves against the ground. But as the irritation began to ease, she gradually became still. The curious calf stepped closer. One young oxpecker briefly landed on its back, but quickly flew away. The calf's body carried far fewer parasites than its mother's. While the birds continued feeding, the mother lowered her head and began grazing. She did not know that on the far side of a thorny bush, a leopard was silently approaching. Its spotted coat allowed it to disappear among the patches of sunlight and shadow. It pressed its body close to the ground, moving forward without disturbing the dry grass. The leopard was not targeting the adult kudu. Its eyes were fixed on the calf. The mother continued grazing. The wind was blowing from behind the leopard, preventing her from catching its scent. But the oxpeckers on her back had a much wider view. One bird suddenly stopped feeding. It raised its head and stared toward the bushes. Seconds later, the entire flock released a series of sharp alarm calls. The mother immediately lifted her head. Her large ears turned toward the sound. Then she noticed a slight movement among the branches. The leopard realized it had been discovered. It burst from the bushes. The mother raced toward her calf and placed her body between the youngster and the predator. Then both antelopes turned and sprinted toward the open grassland. The leopard accelerated. The distance between them rapidly closed, but the kudu's long, powerful legs carried her across the rough ground. The mother leaped over a tall bush, and the calf followed closely behind. Above them, the oxpeckers took flight, continuing to call loudly. The leopard chased them for several dozen meters. When it realized it could not catch them, it slowed and finally stopped. A long pursuit beneath the scorching sun would consume too much energy. The mother and calf continued running until they reached another herd in the distance. The danger had passed. Late that afternoon, the mother stopped beside a small watering hole. Several oxpeckers returned to her back and searched for the remaining ticks. Most of the parasites around her ears and neck were now gone. She no longer shook her head constantly or rubbed her body against tree trunks. The birds had filled their stomachs. The antelope had gained relief from the tiny creatures feeding on her blood. But the birds' warning calls had also helped her and her calf escape a far more dangerous enemy. As the sun disappeared behind the grassland, the oxpeckers left the kudu and flew toward the nearby acacia trees. The mother stood beside her calf, her large ears still turned toward the endless savanna. In the wild, not every threat is the same size. Some enemies are no larger than a tiny seed. Others remain hidden in the shadows. And sometimes, the smallest creatures are the first to see the danger.